Welcome into the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Fantasy Points and the Fantasy Points Media Group. D. Mendy here, joined by my sales associates, Marty Party and Doc. Fellas, how's it going tonight?
Doing great, man. Doc, how are you doing? That's what I'm excited to know.
I'm doing better now that you said you're going to be the 12th to join our fantasy basketball league. So you can't back out of that.
I'm not going to back out. I got a lot of prep to do. It's categories. It's an auction draft. We're starting from scratch, but I'm excited.
There's a lot.
Marty, if I'm not going to win the league right now, I'll put it out there. You are in the upper echelon of people I'm rooting for.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, fantasy basketball here at Triple Play is huge. Not only is it arguably probably our most popular in terms of views on YouTube, but we have a Triple Play Fantasy Basketball League that's coming out on the NFBC website. That's going to be a huge league across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're going to collect tons and tons of people for a giant overall league for that. More details of that will be coming up very shortly of the next coming weeks here. And we also, I think we have 2 entries into Josh Lloyd's big fantasy basketball tournament as well. He reached out on one of our most recent basketball videos, and Triple Play is becoming a big basketball brand that you need to make sure you guys are recognized with. So tons of great basketball stuff. If you just listen to our baseball stuff and never that, look no further for your fantasy basketball needs. That's for sure. Fellas, we are about 2-3 weeks left of the fantasy season here. I got to ask you guys, any leagues you're still in the playoffs?
Yep. Right now, I'm currently, it's my bye week. I got the bye week blues. I finished second in seeding. So me in first place are relaxing. I have 5 extra moves I can make this week. So I'm trying to line up my 2-start pitchers for next week. Colorado bats. Colorado's playing 7 games next week, all in cores. So, and then 2 weeks of playoffs. Last year I came in second place, had only made $100 instead of like $600. So, it's go time.
I love it. The first round bye is so crucial. It takes that one fluke week that you could possibly have, and now you only have to win a couple. It's 2 more weeks left for you right after that.
Yeah, I have 2 more. But this is the week where Mike Trout's hitting all those homers, and he's just chilling on my bench.
That's tough, but
next week the fluke bad week is coming for you.
Oh, no, don't wish that evil on Marty there.
Naturally.
Doc, I know you're in our Dynasty League. I know you had the second seed, and you also got a bye, correct?
Yeah, I didn't realize I had a bye till Monday morning when they said I did. So we're just chilling now.
There's a nice little gift for you, an early Christmas present for you.
Yeah, let me tell you, not being in the playoffs in our home league is pretty bad. Me, you, and Art all didn't make it. So
I shared this tweet because I shared our standings on Twitter. I said, this is ridiculous. 4 of the top 5 scoring teams did not make the playoffs, which is, I've never seen anything like that in any fantasy sport, baseball, basketball, or football.
I would say that's more of like a football thing that could happen.
Yeah. It's a points league. That's been what's been 6 years, 7 years that the home league's been going on. And to have 4 of the top 5 teams not make the playoffs in terms of scoring was pretty nuts. You just obviously a lot more of the upper teams, except I think for Prez, pretty much points allowed was the lowest, and they just got lucky with their matchups. But I think that's just fantasy in a nutshell, right? If you play in any type of league where you play against people each week, and it's not just like a roto based on like your points accumulated over the season, that's going to be what happens. But for those that are in the playoffs still, we've got plenty of good stuff for you. Of course, we've got some top names to add potentially for your fantasy teams in the stretch run. We've got 2-start pitchers. We've got streamers. No LC tonight, as you can see, so we don't have any Bring Out Your Dead or stats and trends, arts, charts, and trends here, but still a lot to get to in a packed show. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get to that TPF rundown. All right, players that wowed us over this past 7 days here. Starting off with Elvis Andrus, and again, when I make some of these graphics, these were made Tuesday. So these are about one game, potentially two that I've played earlier today. But Elvis Andrus over his last 7 games, a 269, 345, 538 slash line, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, even has a stolen base over that time. His past 12 games, he's been hitting in the leadoff spot for the Chicago White Sox. He's batting 327 or 17 for his last 52 with 5 homers, 1 steal, and a 1048 OPS. So basically an entirely new player since he's been leading off for the White Sox here, Doc.
Yeah, he was a hitting streamer of mine last week, and you love the plate appearances and opportunity. But what I think is interesting is Elvis Andrus has upped his launch angle this year. It was at 8.1 degrees last year, and it's at 12.7 degrees this year. And he has 13 homers on the year, which is his second highest for a single season. And what I think is interesting is a lot of times we've written off these veterans, and the first one that came to my mind was Matt Carpenter as well. And then sometimes they just need a new change of scenery and a team that's competing and surrounding them with talent. And that's what we've seen with Elvis Andrus. I mean, he's been in the league since 2009. He's only 33 years old. He's been an accomplished hitter, a career 270 batting average. So I think we wrote him off a little prematurely because he was with Oakland. But, I mean, he's just been playing the lights out since he's been with Chicago in the 23 games.
Yeah, and again, he's accumulating plate appearances, which is a big thing this time of year, where guys are sitting for teams that might be out of the playoff picture here. And, you're seeing, or guys that are hitting lower in the order. This guy's leading off every day, and he's getting a chance. This lineup still has a lot of good bats in it, so he's getting able to score a lot of runs. You see on the screen 6 runs over his last 7 games. And he's just overall looks like a very solid middle infielder to have for your team. You can put him in a middle infield spot. You can put him, obviously, I think he's second and short eligible. So he can play a multitude of places for you in your lineup. A solid player to have here down the stretch. Let's go to our next player here. Let's go to Josh Young. Over his last 7 days, keep in mind, he's played 5 games as of this screenshot. So I think he's played one more since this, but a 250, 250, 650 slash line, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 3 runs, does have no walks to 11 Ks, but he has had hits in 4 of his 5 games since he's been called up, 2 homers and 4 total extra base hits over that time, Marty's party. Josh Young was somebody we were hyped about coming into the season, and then the injury that he sustained basically missed the entire season. And now he's coming here helping the Texas Rangers out at the end of the season. And should he be helping out your fantasy team down the stretch?
Only in very deep leagues, 15 team, 5 outfielder, or maybe a 12 team, 5 outfielder. But so here's the pros. Third base eligibility. Third base has been brutal this season, so that's good. He's playing a super shallow position. He has 2 home runs in 6 games. That's also good. However, 13 strikeouts in those 6 games. He has a 54% strikeout rate. He's not hitting the ball hard at all, and he currently has a 78% fly ball rate. So, yeah, it would have to be a deep league. He's 23% rostered in Yahoo League, so he's out there. Next week, he has 6 home games. So if you do need somebody in third base and you're hoping for some pop, I think he's a good ad, but it's got to be, like I said, very, very deep.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Not looking at him in anything like 10-team leagues, and I guess in 12 it depends. But yeah, I'm with you there, Marty Party. Our next hitter on this list, David VR. His last 7 games, a 333, 385, 792 slash, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs. He's got 9 Ks to 2 walks. He started the last 10 games and has 4 home runs since he returned to the Giants on September 2nd. Just to give a little update since I made this graphic here, he's homered once since September 8th. So he had a double header on September 8th. So if you count all those games up, he's homered 1 in his last 7 games. Did have 2 hits in his most recent game, but definitely not been as hot as he was, I would say, over the last 10 days. That he's kind of cooled off a little bit recently. He's had 2 multi-hit games over his last. Yeah, he has 4 hits over his last 7 games, and then both of those were 2-hit games there. So I don't know how I feel about him. He has continued to play every day, So if you're looking for plate appearances again, he's getting it. I just don't think he's been anything sort of consistent of what you want. So David VR, I'm not looking anything outside the deepest of leagues right now. Conversely, though, Oscar Gonzalez has done even way better since I made this graphic. Last 7 games, a 348, 444, 739 slash, 2 homers and 6 RBIs, 3 walks to 4 strikeouts. He's got an elite max exit velocity this season, 113 miles an hour, 21% K rate with a 42% hard hit rate. Both of those are well below for the K rate and well above for the hard hit rate above league average. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Oscar Gonzalez hit another home run today. So he's homered in the last 2 days. He's homered since I made this graphic. So he basically said, I want you to up my stats. He's getting everyday playing time for the Cleveland Guardians, and he has 5 hits over his last 2 games since I made this graphic. This is a guy that's getting everyday playing time for a Cleveland Guardians team in the middle of playoff contention right now. He's got power, as you can see. He's somebody that could be a main fixture in their lineup next season, as this team still is desperate need of hitting to go along with their outstanding pitching. He's someone I'm very bullish on the rest of the season. With only a few weeks left, you got to pick up the hot hand. And Oscar Gonzalez, I think outside of these 4, with these 4 hitters we talked about tonight, he's my personal favorite. Go get Oscar Gonzalez if he's out there in any of your leagues to help you down the stretch here. All right. From hitting to pitching, and let's kick off the pitchers here with a closer. And let's go to Jose Leclerc, who over his last 7 days, 4 innings, but has 3 saves with a 2.25 ERA. And since the All-Star break, a 1.93 ERA, 33 strikeouts to 11 walks, and over 28 innings. It's been electric as the Texas Rangers closer. And he has that job solidified as Jonathan Hernandez came in the game on Monday in the 7th inning. And he's the other potential closer. I think this is Leclerc's job. If you need saves, he's the guy to get. Doc, what say you?
Yeah, so similar to what we said with AJ Puck a couple weeks ago, like at this point, if you're looking for saves, you're going for the guy that's getting opportunities. And what I think is interesting is Leclerc didn't pitch in 2021 as he had Tommy John surgery and only threw 2 innings in 2020. So he essentially hasn't pitched since 2019. So it does have a little bit of saving wear and tear on his arm. Maybe batters aren't as familiar with his offerings. I'm a little bit hesitant because I look at his career whips, 1.6, 1.38, 0.85, and 1.32. This season, it's at 1.06, but he's walked a batter in 5 out of his last 7 outings. To me, once again, and when we said this with Puck, the blow-up looks like it might come, but you're taking the save opportunities where you can get them now.
Saves are scarce. People are chasing saves at this point in the year, especially if you need that to climb up standings in roto leagues. And so if that's something you need, Leclerc is right now somebody locked into that role. And he has strikeout upside, obviously, as you can see, 33 strikeouts over 28 innings. So can help you in a lot of different ratios there. Let's go to our next guy. Let's talk about Mike Minor, who looked a lot better for this show before his most recent outing, which kind of dragged down his overall numbers. That's one of the things sometimes where you plan ahead and then they ruin things for you here. Over his last 7 days at 10.2 innings pitched, 17 hits, 8 strikeouts, a 4.22 ERA, had given up before his most recent outing on Monday, had given up just 5 runs over his previous 3 starts. And he's going to get plenty of innings you'd expect down the stretch here for the Reds, who are one of the worst teams in baseball and just looking to finish out the season here. Marty Party, Mike Minor, a little blip recently. Is that enough to scare you off from wanting to roster him?
I've been scared of Mike Minor for years. Absolutely. This is exactly what I expect from him. Even although he has like a couple good stretches, it's still not worth it. Batters are crushing the ball with him. He doesn't strike out anybody. This is who Mike Minor is. But a fun fact, he struggled the most against the Pirates this year. He's given up 15 runs to them in only 17 innings. So even though he's playing one of the worst teams in baseball, this is just showing, he's old. He's an old arm. He's a lefty. So maybe if down the stretch, if he goes against a team that cannot hit left-hand pitching, that would be, just to give you an idea. Let's see, WRC plus. So like Miami, never mind, because Pittsburgh's 29th against lefties. Mike Minor's just bad. Don't play him. Just don't do it.
Oh, okay. I respect that, Marty. Yeah, I'm probably out on him as well. So don't pick up Mike Minor. Leave him out there. Very matchup dependent. Yeah, Stay away.
Fort Minor greater than sign Mike Minor.
There you go.
I agree with that.
Ryan Nelson, our next player to talk about here on the rundown. Last start, 6 scoreless innings, allowed 6 hits with 6 strikeouts, the dreaded 6.66 there. Thrown 13 straight scoreless innings to begin his career. Four-seam fastball has been a big key to his success, as his four-seam fastball right now, whiff rate only 24.6%, but opposing batters are only batting .97 against it. Even his expected batting average of 161, it still looks pretty good. Curveball, 286 batting average against with a 193 expected batting average. Those are his top 2 pitches. And he's been doing he's using his curveball really well late in counts with a 66.7% put away rate there. And just looking at his usage of his pitches in his 2 starts, been very much around the same. Fastball hovering between 66 69% of the time. Curveball anywhere from like 13 to 17%. And then his 2 other pitches, his slider and his changeup, both of those hovering anywhere from like 8 to 11%. So he's been very consistent so far. We'll have to see once he gets more starts under his belt, but I like firing up Ryan Nelson if he is in the right matchups. I'm not playing him against like the Dodgers or against a team like the Braves, but if he has good matchups, I have no problem putting him out there. He's got some good stuff, and the Diamondbacks are going to keep running him out there with him pitching like this. On the flip side, though, Mitch Keller, who I feel like every single time you're out on him, he just pulls you back in. That's what he does. It's good old Mitchy boy here. 13 innings, 7 hits over his last 7 days. That's 2 starts, 8 strikeouts. And over his last 11 starts overall, 2.55 ERA, 1.25 whip, and 49 to 19K to walk in 60 innings. So the strikeouts have not been there, but we saw Mitch Keller undergo a transformation, I believe, basically over his second half of the season here, where he stopped trying to strike people out and was pitching to contact more. And that's kind of changed. I think he started throwing his sinker more. I'll pull up those stats just to double check. But he was pitching to contact. That's why the Ks are down and the ERA has been better. I don't know about you guys, Mitch Keller. Is he burned you enough to where you're not even considering it at this point?
Just because of where we're at. If this was the beginning of the season, maybe I'd give him a chance, but it's playoff time. It's end of the season. If you're in it right now, you can't take a blow up. So I'm staying away from him.
I'm the opposite, and spoiler alert, he is a weekend streamer for me.
Oh,
hey,
there we go. That's a tease right there if I've ever heard one. But yeah, Mitch Keller, I guess we're kind of differing on. I don't know if I could trust my playoff matchup with him pitching. I would be trying to avoid that if I can. All right. Our team schedule as it looks over the following week here coming up, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers both play 8 games. And that's really the only one I want to highlight here because everybody else plays 6 or 7. So if I did not mention the other team, it's 6 or 7 games, but the Diamondbacks and Dodgers both play 8. Our most added players from this past week, and Hunter Brown kicking things off, added 44% of leagues, I believe, pitched last night as well. 6 innings, I think 2 earned runs against the Oakland A's, so looks solid. I think he's going to lose his rotation spot with Justin Verlander coming back on Friday, so he's not going to get a second start this week. But Hunter Brown's looked really good. He's probably going to pitch a long relief in the bullpen and in the playoffs. So temper your expectations rest of season for him. Bailey Falter, Jake McCarthy, Elvis Andrews, Trevor Rogers.
hey.
Well, Josh Young, Cal Raleigh, TJ Friedel. Let's talk about Trevor Rogers for a second. He's been talked about on the last 2 shows. But my question to you guys, how he's going to get bumped up now. I think he would have gone from being somebody that you take a shot on late as a potential high upside guy. He's going to settle in, I think, at an ADP. I'm asking you guys, around pick 100, is that too early for Trevor Rogers for you? Let's say you're in a 15-team league. So at that point, you're going to be in, the 7th round of your draft?
You said 15 league?
15-team league, it's the 7th round? If my math is correct?
Yeah.
I couldn't 7th round of your draft. Would you pull the trigger there?
No.
You said top 100?
Yeah.
So to put that in the perspective of, we're looking at ADP from last year. Wow. Here's who went around that. 105, Shane McClanahan. 106, Carlos Rodon. 108.
I feel like Verlander was in that range too.
Luis Castillo, 108. Chris Sale 111, Snell 112. So no, he's not going to be, obviously that, those names probably will be moved up a lot more, but no, he won't be in there. Let's drop around 150. Let's see where see if the water's warm there. Kershaw, that was more of injury. Zach Gallen, Shane Baz. Okay, now we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Luis Severino.
I mean,
And then
imagine
Taylor Rogers was, so maybe 150, but he's got Washington next. He should be able to, if he's lights out there, that'll be a good start for him. Then he should have 2 more, maybe 3 more starts after that. So
yeah, imagine if he goes the rest of the season looking like, I believe he's had a 2, like, I want to say it's like 2.9 ERA over his 3 starts since he's returned, better than a K per inning. If he goes the rest of the season pitching like that, I think his ADP is going to skyrocket. And I think it's going to be one of those situations where people early in draft season get him later. And then as more and more comes out in the offseason, like over his last 10 starts, look completely different pitcher. He figured things out. Like, I'm going to get Trevor Rogers at a discount. And then every single industry person is going to steadily take him a little earlier and a little earlier and a little earlier. And then by March, he's going in the top 100 because I feel like that's how this works every single season.
I feel like this is the argument, though, is in September, you're facing a lot of AAA hitting. Like, you're facing a lot of...
He just faced the Rangers lineup. It's actually not too bad.
It's a pretty good lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm more comfortable in the 150 range just because, like, there's been so much fluctuation. And it's not like, oh, he's been okay and he's shown flashes of ace. Like, he's been borderline unstartable, probably unstartable. I think his whip at the beginning of the season was 1.64, like an ERA in the mid 5s. Like, he's shown flashes that can kill your ratios and you bench him. And I just can't take someone in the top 100 that has shown that over a long period of time.
And Doc, I will say though, 2 weeks ago we talked about him, and you said you're a little bit more invested than most. So hats off to you there. And what we talked about last week when I was doing a deep dive on him, he worked with his pitching coach the whole time he was injured to try to get his mechanics back to exactly where they were last year, because he tinkered with them in the off season. So I'm not a film guy, right? I won't be able to sit there and look and see if he's back with if his mechanics are on the same as they were last year. But that's what he was working on, and it looks like it's working.
So I will pull this up here. So I have Trevor Rogers pitch usage pretty much since he came back. So Trevor Rogers returned on, what's it been? I'm trying to see. So he pitched, has it been 4 starts?
I think so.
Let me see.
I'm going to do the name game after this. So, David, continue with what you're doing.
He pitched on 7/11, 7/17, 7/25. So I'm trying to find.
I think it's August 31st, and because it was the 31st of August, September 7th,
Marty.
and then the 12th.
You're right. There's a month gap here. I totally blanked on that. So these are his 3 starts in terms of usage on his pitches here. So never been somebody to utilize a sinker, even though that's listed on here pretty much anytime recently. So it's a 4-seam slider and change are the 3 pitches we're looking at. 4-seam fastball, his start before he missed a month, 44% usage on his fastball, 55, 62, and 57 since. So a tick higher usage of his fastball. The big thing that's been interesting is his slider. And in his first start, only used it 8% of the time. Went heavy 4-seam fastball, changeup. Those were his 2 main pitches. His second start, heavier on the 4-seam fastball, but his slider and changeup were pretty much equal. And then on his next start, again, completely ditched the slider, heavy 4-seam and changeup. So he's basically, over his 3 starts, he's alternated using his slider a lot and then not using it. And I think he's talked about continuing to hone that changeup. And so I think it's kind of interesting if we watch him tinker with how he uses those 3 pitches the rest of season here. So I thought that was kind of interesting because it's, again, something he must have noticed he's working on, see how teams are against certain pitches. Maybe that's why he's featuring his changeup more versus certain teams as opposed to his slider. Buddy Albert checking in. Always love seeing him in the chat. Good evening, my friend.
All right, let me do the name game with you guys. I have 5 names here, and if you tell me if you were on the clock, who you would take between Trevor Rogers or these people.
Okay.
For the rest of the season or next year?
Next season.
Okay.
Trevor Rogers or Brady Singer?
Trevor Rogers.
Rogers.
Trevor Rogers or Jose Urquidy?
Trevor Rogers.
Rogers.
Okay. Trevor Rogers or Jameson Tyone?
Trevor Rogers.
Rogers.
Okay, I thought that these might be for debate. You guys are higher on him next year than I thought. Trevor Rogers or Eduardo Rodriguez?
Trevor Rogers.
Marty?
Honestly, it's got to be Rogers at this. No, Eduardo Rodriguez. No, it says Eduardo.
There he goes.
Final last one I have, assuming he pitches next season. Eduardo or Trevor Rogers or Adam Wainwright?
I think you say Patrick Corbin.
I think Adam Wainwright's retiring, if I'm not mistaken.
I said if he comes back next season.
It'd be Waino for me.
Yeah, I would take Wainwright if he comes back, but I don't think he is.
You guys are higher on Trevor Rogers than I thought you'd be.
He's got still obviously double-digit K per 9 upside, and if he finishes the season like he's been looking, I mean, I'm telling you guys right now, I'm marking it on September 14th. By the time drafts hit like the month before the season, he's gonna go around the top 100. Assuming he finishes the season like he's been pitching.
This is like your Bobby Witt top 50 shot right here. You're calling it early. I like it.
I mean, I'm not saying he's going to finish production-wise like that next year. I'm just saying that he's.
I don't think it's crazy because recency bias is hell of a drug.
People are going to again, he's going to be a huge value early on in draft season, and then everybody's going to dig into his numbers, and everybody's going to keep pushing him up steadily to where.
Plus, it's the Marlins, man. Good park. They know what they're doing with pitching. They've proven it for a long time.
Besides 100%.
Our most drop players, real quick. Again, a lot of these guys are usually because of injury. Andrew Benintendi, Matt Manning, Justin Steele, Freddie Peralta, Tyler Mahle, Lars Nootbaar, who looked like the hottest pickup in fantasy baseball for a few weeks, now getting dropped. I think he had like 0 for 17 stretch over like a 5-game period. So he's been ice cold. He actually sat recently. So he's getting dropped at this point when you need production right now. Alex Wood and Spencer Watkins are the ones to round out this list. All right, Doc, give us some hitting streamers.
Yes, sir. And one of these will likely be on the most added next week, or players we're talking about. But starting out with Edmundo Sosa, owned in 1.2% of ESPN leagues. His last 7 days, 500 batting average, 1 homer, 4 RBIs, 5 runs. He's sat out the last couple days, but I think hopefully next week should get some playing time. Second base, third base, shortstop eligible. Phillies are playing 6 games next week, so when he puts up numbers like that, you can't justify putting him on the bench. But if he does start, I think the Phillies are clicking on all cylinders right now. So somebody that you can get in 98.2 or 98.8% of leagues. The next, and this is who I think we're going to be talking about next week, is Mr. Jonathan Daza, owned in 1.8% of ESPN leagues. His last 7 days, he's had 6 of 7 games multi-hit that he's gone 2 for 4. But he's batting .421, .476, .526 triple slash. As we talked about earlier, the Rockies have 7 games next week, and they are all at home. So you love that for the Coors hitters. And he's been batting too. So he's been getting a lot of plate appearances. It's what you like this time of year. And Chris Bryant is likely not coming back anytime soon. So he's somebody I have no hesitation rostering because at this point, you're just looking for plate appearances. And the last one is going to be Nico Horner. Now, my contingency with this is that he's healthy next week coming off a triceps injury. So he's had 3 days off plus a rest day. We're thinking that hopefully he is good next week. He's owned in 44.1% of ESPN leagues. He's on a 6-game hitting streak. We've talked about before, just a great contact hitter, somebody that's way more valuable in points leagues, has 2 stolen bases in the last 5 games prior to getting hurt, and has 1 strikeout in his last 31 at-bats. So once again, from that points league perspective, he's not getting you many negative outings. In a roto league, he will help your batting average. He'll get you a swipe here and there, but specifically for the former league that I mentioned, I think he's a better target. But this is assuming that he is healthy next week.
All right. I like those ads there, Doc. Good work with the hitting streamers. Marty, let's go and let's talk about your 2-start pitchers.
My favorite.
Just the two of us. We can
David, it took you this long.
That's what I was about to say.
It took you this long in the season to have the perfect music.
I know.
What are we doing here?
Literally, I typed in 2 on my soundboard. I started scrolling through. I was like, oh my God, this is it.
God.
Why did it take me this long?
Well, I guess better late than never. Damn it, that's so good. Okay, I'm thrown off now. Okay, let's start with the no doubters as always. I want to add Max Scherzer to this list because he's going to be going Monday at Milwaukee, at Oakland. So all of you that drafted Max Scherzer and you're in the playoffs, congratulations. You got your Mad Max going. Other ones, Dylan Cease versus Cleveland versus Detroit. Corbin Burns versus the Mets at Cincinnati. Kyle Wright versus Washington at Philly. Carlos Rodon at Colorado, at Arizona, and Luis Castillo at Oakland, at Kansas City. These are the why not. Charlie Morton versus Washington at Philly. Clayton Kershaw versus the Diamondbacks versus the Cardinals. Logan Gilbert at the Angels, at Kansas City Royals. Sonny Gray at Cleveland versus the Angels. Nestor Cortez versus Pittsburgh versus Boston. Hunter Brown. He may not. Probably won't be. Like you said, Verlander is going to be pitching this weekend. He may be out of the rotation, but if not, he's scheduled to go at Rays, at Baltimore. Edward Cabrera versus Chicago Cubs versus Washington, and lastly, Shane McClanahan owners. Congratulations, you got your ace back versus Houston versus Toronto. It's not going to be easy, but at least you got him.
Edward Cabrera, if he was a more notable name, would be in the no doubt or the no doubts. But okay.
Well, and speaking of that, we didn't get a text message in the group chat saying, wow, Marty, you were right. Chris Bassett definitely was not a must-start pitcher after he went 3.2 innings and gave up 5 earned runs with 2 home runs. I must have missed that text message.
Yeah.
It might be in your drafts. Maybe
I will say that. He had a good start against the Pirates, and I forgot he was a 2-start. But you're right. I gotta eat the L sometimes.
Risky business. This is the first time that I had to do it to Adam Wainwright. The last couple outings have been pretty tough for him. Now today, I was just looking at it. He did pretty good today. So he's still going right now. 3.2 innings. Only given up 1 run versus Milwaukee. But next week, tough matchups at San Diego, at the Dodgers. Cal Quantrill versus Minnesota, at the Rangers. Drew Rasmussen versus Toronto, or versus Houston versus Toronto. Rasmussen, they made me look like a fool. I put him in the risky business last week, and he did great. Dustin May, he's looking risky right now. Versus Arizona, versus St. Louis. So obviously, if you're in a daily league, you're going to love the Arizona matchup. The Cardinals have been one of the best hitting teams in baseball, so that makes them a little risky. Ross Stripling at the Phillies, at Tampa Bay. Ross has been great. I just can't fully buy into him. Reed Detmers versus the Mariners, at Minnesota. David Peterson, Jesus. What did he give up today? I was just looking into it. I don't know. I didn't write it down, but he absolutely blew up today. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not gonna look it up, but yeah, he's risky.
Look it up for you.
Yeah, it's pretty comical. I think you can look it up. Dean, was it Kramer versus Detroit versus Houston, and Drew Smiley at Minnesota, at Pittsburgh. So Mr. Smiles is typically a must-sit for me. He's been good the last month, and I love these matchups. I may or may not have already picked him up for next week in my league for playoffs.
So David Peterson's stat line from today, September 14th, 0.1 innings, 2 hits, 5 earned, 3 walks, and a strikeout.
Oh my! That's 5 earned in how many innings?
0.1. He got 1 out. It's crazy that he gave up as many runs as he did base runners. Wow.
Absolutely brutal. So he's been pretty good as of late. At Milwaukee next week, at Oakland. So 1 decent matchup, 1 really good matchup, but yeah, I mean, that's why he's risky business. You don't know what you're going to get from him. And then lastly, tons of take a seats. Couple of them have never been in this category before, but it's playoff time, baby. Yeah, you can't take the risk. So Sean Manaea versus the Cardinals, at Colorado.
Sean Manaea should be exterminated.
Kyle Gibson, this breaks my heart. He had a good start today because you don't know what you're going to get from Mr. Gibby, but he's going to versus Toronto, and then he's versus the Braves. So Blue Jays,
be exterminated with Manaea. They should be exterminated together.
I put them both on top because I know they've been hurting you lately. So I wanted to just hop right into that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lorenzi Contreras at the Yanks versus the Cubs. Zach Greinke versus Minnesota versus the Mariners. Jake Junis at Colorado at Arizona. Brian Bello at Cincinnati at the Yankees. JP Sears, he had a terrible outing last time out, versus the Mariners versus the Mets. Kyle Friedland, both games at home versus the Giants versus San Diego. Chad Too Cool for School, again, both of these are going to be at home in Coors Field versus the Giants versus San Diego. Zach Davies at the Dodgers versus San Francisco. Adrian Sampson at Miami at Pittsburgh. Drew Hutchinson at Baltimore at Chicago White Sox. Cole Reagans versus the Angels versus the Cubs. Corey Abbott at the Braves at the Marlins. Dylan Bundy at KC versus the Angels. And Austin Voth versus Detroit versus Houston. Now, out of all these, Adrian Sampson stands out. He's been doing actually pretty well lately. And I actually do like both those matchups. So if you are feeling it and you need somebody, you have that last pitching spot and you don't know who to play, I think Sampson could be okay. But Dylan Bundy's a heartbreaker, man. I don't care that he's been doing pretty decent the last couple outings out. I just can't do it. He doesn't strike out anybody. But yeah, those are the take a seats.
I have nothing to critique on that. I even agree with the Adrian Sampson as emergency play.
Wow.
Okay. We're at the end of the season when Doc isn't fighting the two-start pitchers.
He should have showered. If he would have showered, he would have been rejuvenated.
There you go. Yeah.
No. Look, I'm not going to argue for the sake of arguing. I mean, it's spot on.
Hey. 24. Is it the 24th week show or 25th week, whatever it is? But we finally did it.
After 6 months or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
There, Doc's worn out.
It took one time from me getting wrong to Timmy to revisit.
Thank you, Chris
ways.
Bassett.
Yeah. And Doc likes Chris Bassett too. That's what made it even worse.
I know.
Let's talk some pitching streamers, Doc. Let's go back to you.
All right. So just prefacing this, we're at the end of the season where pitchers are getting rest and teams are also not committing to their weekend starters or pushing them back. And it's bad when I put Wade Miley on here.
Now, you broke your code.
YouTube,
you broke your code.
I think he looks like Waluigi in the eyes. And I asked my roommate and he said yes. What do you guys think?
No.
Didn't you have another nickname for him earlier this season?
He's a porn director.
He's the porn director.
Yeah. Wade Miley looks like a porn director. But we're getting off topic with baseball here.
That's okay.
Owned in 6% of ESPN leagues. Since he's returned from his IL stint, 2 outings, but 9 innings, 3 earned, 11 Ks. And since then, he hadn't pitched since June 10th. So maybe less arm fatigue, which actually bodes well for him because September is usually when he blows up. And he gets to face the Rockies, who are batting .230 on the road and are a league worst 22-47. So bodes well for Mr. Miley at home. The next, and once again, I mean, this is rough, but it's going to be Matt Manning, owned in 2.2% of ESPN leagues, 2 earned or less in 4 out of his last 5 games. The other game gave up 7 earned to the Mariners. But I look and you look at some encouraging signs: 16 to 5 K to walk ratio. He threw 94 pitches last game, so they're letting his pitch count get up. Now he does face the White Sox, but there aren't many good options, and I have to give you 3 pitchers. So I want to put this out there that I have the lowest expectation for him out of the 3. And the third, being Mitch Keller. Oh, Mitch Keller, owned in 5.8% of ESPN leagues. His last 3 games, impressive 19 innings, 2 earned, 18 Ks as opposed to 7 walks. And he's faced some good teams at Milwaukee, versus the Mets, versus the Cardinals. The Mets are in a little bit of a slide. They've lost 2 straight. They're 4-6 in their last 10. There is a little bit of risk associated with this, but I think he can give you that upside. He can give you 10 plus Ks potentially. But once again, these are people owned in less than 50% of leagues when teams aren't committing to their rotation as much. So it's not going to be as large a pool to choose from.
All right. Good pitching.
And those were my 2-start pitchers.
Just to make up for Art not being here.
Yeah.
So Wade Miley, Matt Manning, Mitch Keller, your pitching streamers recommended by Doc for this week.
Yeah, most confident in Miley, and those are words I never thought I'd utter.
So I was searching Twitter. You guys know what's trending right now?
Does that have to do with baseball?
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't bring it up.
Okay.
0.00 ERA. If you can guess what that's going to be in reference to.
It's
So
a hitter throwing 1 inning and not getting a run.
Well, close. I didn't know what it meant. And everybody that's saying Shohei Ohtani should be MVP. Right now, there's a huge thing going on Twitter that Judge has 57 home runs and a 0.00 ERA. And then compared to Shohei Ohtani's 34 home runs and 2.55 ERA. So Ben Verlander came out and said, I don't need who needs to hear this, but this isn't funny. He was like, make the case for who you want for AL MVP, but saying Judge has a 0.00 ERA isn't remotely funny. It's false and not funny.
I wonder what Ben Verlander would have done if Justin Verlander wasn't Justin Verlander. You know what I mean?
He'd be a nobody.
Yeah.
Are they related?
Yeah, they're
That's
brothers.
his brother.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's like if me and you. It's like if me and you were in the big leagues and I was Justin Verlander and you were Ben Verlander.
Well, I feel like Ben Verlander doesn't boast as much that he's Justin.
He went. That went over Doc's head. He didn't
I know.
see the insult.
I know.
I mean, what do you? So there was a comment on here. A couple people saying let him pitch an inning, and then if he can get through the inning without giving up a run, then he has a legit 0.00 ERA.
If that's the Yankees need to focus on winning games, and this is what happens when the Yankees have been so bad over the last month and a half that they're deflecting. All the fans are deflecting. They don't want to hear it. I'm not taking anything away from Judge. I mean, what does he have? 57 home runs now. I know he hit 2 last night. But Ohtani, he should be the MVP. If Judge was doing this in any other market, no, not to say people wouldn't care. They would care, but it wouldn't be like this. It's just because it's the Yankees. It's a huge deal. Ohtani's doing this on both sides of the baseball. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It doesn't matter. He's hit a lot of home runs. Like Kyle Schwarber's hit a lot of home runs. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I disagree with you a little bit, Marty. Like I do agree Ohtani should be the MVP. But when Stanton hit like 58 a couple of years ago, people were making a big deal about it, and that was for the Marlins.
Did he win MVP that year?
Yeah, I believe he did.
Okay. Well.
So
now it's actually way more impressive that he does it in Miami in that park.
So you guys
he actually stayed healthy for an entire season.
So you guys are on the panel for AL MVP. Judge gets to 60 home runs, and Ohtani finishes the year with a sub-3 ERA. I think he's at 34 home runs, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't see him getting to 40. So he's finished with 30-something home runs and a sub-3 ERA. And Judge finishes with 60-plus home runs. Who gets the AL MVP?
It's Ohtani. Like, I don't like bringing the team stat into it. Like, what Ohtani is doing is we will never see again. And
he did it last year.
What I'm saying is, like, if you're going to say he's not going to win MVP because of voter fatigue, like, that's one thing. But to be able to go out there every 5th, 6th day and do what he's doing and have the batting stats that he is. The year Giancarlo won, he hit 281, 59 homers, 132 RBIs. Judge is going to break that, but it's not like it's been unprecedented that somebody's been in a chase for 60 homers.
Well, right now, I saw the stat today that he is 1 home run away from breaking the American League record for home runs by a right-hander in a season. The record's 58. So no right-hander in the American League has ever hit 60.
My argument for this, it's less to do with Judge. What he's doing is absolutely incredible. He has the Yankees on his back. He is taking them to the playoffs. But Ohtani won it last year with a 3.18 ERA in 130 innings and 156 strikeouts. This year, a 2.55 ERA, 141 innings pitched, and 188 strikeouts. He could get 200 strikeouts. He could hit, what is he at, 30? How many home runs does he have?
I think it's like 34.
35 home runs and 200 strikeouts. Like, what we're talking about is it's like a painter. We don't know how amazing of a painter is 200 years after he's dead, and then everyone's like, oh wow, he was one of the best ever. That's how crazy what he's doing right now. It's easy for baseball fans, even the simple ones, just to look. That's a lot of home runs. That's crazy. He should win it. What he's doing is what Ohtani's doing is just unbelievable.
It's absolutely crazy. And I mean, we've talked about Judge's stat line. I mean, he's hitting 310 also.
Well, I was going to bring that up.
16 stolen bases.
16 stolen bases, and he's second in the American League in batting average.
So it's not about what Judge is doing or not doing. It's only about what Ohtani's accomplishing. That's all it's about.
So I wonder if Judge is going to win it from the fact that he was robbed his rookie season with obviously the whole scandal that the Astros went through. I mean, that season he hit 284, 52 homers, 114 RBIs, and he finished second to Altuve. And, you know, especially him being in a contract year, I wonder if he's voted for it just so that, you know, we can see what he gets on the open market. Because if he wins MVP, has the best statistical season, and bets on himself, like that's a narrative there that I think writers want to see.
He's going to look really good in a Mets uniform next year, guys. Really
the Yankees
good.
are going to throw everything they can.
What do you mean, a Dodgers uniform? The Dodgers will
just... that would be crazy. I would love that. That'd be cool.
They might not lose a game.
Well, for the record show, I don't disagree that Ohtani deserves the MVP. I think they both do. Judge is going to win it because Ohtani won it last year. It's going to be the voter fatigue.
Sure.
It's going to be
the New York Yankee bias for me. That's why he's going to
Yankees. It's going to be the fact that they're in the playoffs. It's going to be and that the Angels aren't. It's going to be the fact that he's going to hit 60 home runs, which has only been done 5 other times or something like that. Like
if he hits 62, I'll be okay with it. With him
Ohtani won the MVP last year, which is why the way I look at it, Doc, bringing a basketball reference. LeBron James could win MVP every year in his prime, right? Like he won he ended up winning 4, and he should have won probably another 3 or 4 if you're actually talking about the most valuable player in the league. But you look, who's this flavor this year? It's Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double. Oh, who's the flavor this year? You know, it's
well, yeah, it sounds like your Aaron Judge is Derrick Rose when he won the MVP.
Yeah,
definitely should have won it.
He's going to have this amazing year that he'll never replicate. And they'll be like, hey, this Ohtani's done it twice. He won it the first year because he did it.
But this year's better. He's done better this year. That's the crazy. Like, that's why it doesn't make any sense.
His batting has suffered a little bit.
Judge needs to hit 60.
A little bit, but the pitch.
Judge needs to hit 60 in order for him to have a chance. If he does not hit 60, then there's no chance he wins it, in my opinion.
Vegas has a minus 1,000 to win. So they know something we don't.
And I think there's a difference between, like, David, you bring up the LeBron James argument. LeBron James has been classified as the best basketball player in the world for a period of time. Like any baseball player or baseball fan will say Ohtani is the best baseball player when you factor in both sides of the ball. And then they'll say like Judge was the most valuable this year, whether you want to determine
exactly
batting stats.
Exactly. It's what I'm saying. It's the LeBron thing in baseball where Ohtani should technically get it, but a Judge is going to be the flavor this year. He's doing something we've never seen. Ohtani did that last year. So that type of thing is going to play in with the voters. He does need to get 60 because that arbitrary number is something that's going to stick in voters' minds, 60 home runs. So I would be willing to put a ton of money on Aaron Judge winning the AL MVP if he does get 60.
Well, if you bet $1,000, you'll make 100 back.
$100. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously I'm not going to do that, but all right, let's go to the last part of the show here. It was a fun debate here since we had a little extra time. Let's talk about Marty's weekend warriors.
All right, here are your weekend warriors, and it is playoff time, baby. September 16th through the 18th, so this weekend, most valuable in your head-to-head daily leagues. And we're going to start off with a guy named Bubba. Bubba Thompson, outfielder for Texas, 3 games at Tampa Bay. He's 29% rostered. He's batting .278 on the season with 15 steals. So on the sneak, I mean, 15 steals is that's pretty good. Over the last 7 days, he has 5 stolen bases. So he clearly has the green light. If you are in the need for, especially in your head-to-head leagues, if you need steals, this could be a guy that could, get you that whole category. If he has another week like that, 5 steals in 1 week is pretty good. Oscar Gonzalez, don't really have to go into it. We've already talked about him a lot. Outfielder for Cleveland. 4 important games at home this weekend versus the Twins. He's got a doubleheader, so plenty of at-bats are coming. He's batting .291 with 8 homers on the season. Over the last week, he's batting .391 with 3 home runs. So he's very hot. And Luke Voigt, first baseman for the Washington Nationals. Yeah, you remember him. He was the guy that had to leave San Diego against his will. 31% rostered, 3 games at home versus the Marlins. Alcantara he pitches on Sunday, so obviously that's going to be a tough matchup. But over the last 7 days, he's batting .360 with the home run, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs as well. And then hopping over to pitchers, never mind an Adrian Sampson. Looks like he was boosted up to Monday, so scratch that. Trevor Rogers, we've already talked about him a bunch. This weekend, he takes on the Washington Nationals. Only 64% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Over the last 18.1 innings, he has 22 strikeouts, 2.95 ERA, and a 0.93 WHIP. Then lastly is the old vet, Marco Gonzalez, out of Seattle, Seattle Mariner. He's taking on the Los Angeles Angels, and they will be in Anaheim, 34% rostered. Over his last 19 innings, he has 9 strikeouts with a 3.32 ERA and a 0.79 WHIP. To round that out, again, Bubba Thompson, Oscar Gonzalez, Luke Voigt, and then the pitchers, Trevor Rogers and Marco Gonzalez. Your weekend warriors.
Oh, love those weekend warriors there from Marty Party. Good work from the entire team here, as we're still able to get this to nearly about the same length we do for most shows, just with fun debates. And I always hang out and do this every week, which is always really fun for us.
My favorite part of the week.
Anything you guys want to leave the audience with ahead of week 24 coming up here in the stretch run?
Don't be afraid to drop players based on name now. Like if it's a must win and someone like Sonny Gray isn't going to pitch, that's a bad example because he has 2 starts. But if someone like
Lucas Giolito,
well, that's an easy drop. If someone like a Kevin Gausman, like if you need to win this week and he's not pitching until middle of next week, like you're playing to win now. You need to maximize players that are going to give you points this week and then just play the matchups for next week, because if you likely win this week, you get to the next week, and then you're just trying to get to at least second to get your money back.
I like it, Doc. Good advice there. I don't know, guys. That was a pretty fun show. That was a good time. Just a little bit of a plug talk here, which I'm going to try to start doing a little bit more of, and just more kind of talk about everything that we're doing here, which for those that, if we recently subscribed or have been just watching all season and don't know what goes on behind the scenes here, YouTube channel is bumping. We're at 2.37K subs now. We have the goal, hopefully, to try to get to 3,000 subs by the end of 2022. I think we can hit that with the growth that we have there. Please subscribe if you are not already, and likes and comments help the algorithm to get more of our content out to other people. If you would like to join the TPF Discord, that is always bumping. We are closing in on 100 members in our Discord. I want to get into like 200, 300, 400 people, to where conversations flow every day. Trade talk. Should I add this player, drop this player, start sits for football, fantasy basketball advice. There's so much going on in there. We have some movie and TV show.
That's how I found Peaky Blinders, man. I spent 3 straight months watching that show. It's one of my favorites of all time. And I wouldn't have done it without the Discord.
That's right. So if you want to get in on the Discord, you can either message myself at DMendio2, at Marty_Tallman, or at Trip Play Fantasy. We'll send you the link to get into our Discord. It is also pinned in the video. If you go to any of our videos, our Discord link is there if you want to join through that way. And just make sure you give these guys a follow again on Twitter. I read their handles. They do great work, pumping out a bunch of great stuff every single week. Anything else I'm missing?
Shout out to our Lord and Savior, David.
Make sure you're following Instagram and TikTok too. TikTok, I think we're around close to getting into 1,000 followers on TikTok. If you guys doing any work there, on Instagram, we're almost at 3K there. Content goes out weekly. I think we have like 3 or 4 at least every week going out on those platforms. We're everywhere. So come be a part of the TPF fam. We're definitely growing. We got a ton of great stuff here.
Thank you for listening. I mean, this has been a long baseball season. So if you're listening to this now, you're the reason why we do this. So thank you very much.
100%. We appreciate all you guys. So for Doc, for Marty Party, I'm D Mendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys in week 24.